All right, y'all, welcome back to Two Beers with the Band. This is part 2 of the Caroline Romano episode. My name's Harkos. I edit everything over here in case y'all don't know who I am. If you are not already subscribed to Two Beers with the Band podcast, wherever you're viewing or listening to this, make sure you hit like, share, follow, and subscribe, notification buzzer, all that fun stuff, so you never miss another great episode right here with Two Beers with the Band podcast. And if you have not checked out part 1 of Caroline Romano's great episode here, you should definitely go check that out before you start this episode right here, okay? And when you do check out both episodes, make sure you share it with other people that you know as well, whether they're musicians or whether they just love finding out more about the intricacies of that musician lifestyle. That's what Two Beers with the Band is all about. Chris goes deep with conversation with all of these local Nashville bands, solo artists, singer-songwriters, and other people who work in the industry to give you that inside look as to what it's really like on the ground in Nashville in the music scene. So if you're interested in what it's like, make sure you never miss an episode of Here with Two Beers of the Band podcast. And get ready. Here's episode 2, part 2, of Caroline Romano on Two Beers of the Band.
Back and forth and up and down, I'm dizzy. Side to side, then round and round, I'm spinning, and I don't like to show how
I don't know about you, but I'm ready to
I'm gonna try another one.
get into this
Wow.
next beer.
Gotta learn.
All right. Well, this is Change of Heart from Bell's Brewery in Comstock, Michigan.
All right.
This is called Experimental IPA. It is a juicy IPA.
What does that mean?
You don't know what that means?
What juicy IPA means?
Okay. Ooh, should I tell you or let you figure this out? You know what? You said you like a challenge.
Okay.
I'm going to let you figure it out.
All right. Okay.
I know what I expect out of this beer, so
And do you prefer a Pilsner or an IPA?
it depends on what I'm doing.
Okay, that's
If
fair.
I'm, like I said earlier, if I'm out riding a kayak all day, maybe a Pilsner.
Okay.
Because if you drink a bunch of IPAs and it's just hot outside, it gets to be a little rough towards the end of the trip. But Pilsners, again, are light ABV and
Okay.
just refreshing beers.
Okay. So should I tilt mine to the side and pour slow?
Well, tilt it about like that.
Okay, I think I'm doing a better job this time. I think.
And then as you get towards the end, just tilt it up straight.
Why does mine make noise? Yours doesn't make any noise.
Because you're pouring better than I do.
No.
Maybe you got a better microphone. I was trying to get
Maybe
some.
I do.
I was trying to get some of the pour sounds, and I don't know.
I overfoamed again.
Yeah,
It's okay.
no, actually, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
God, you did a better pour. You got a better sound. I'm not drinking beer with you anymore.
Crushing it.
You
Okay.
are crushing it. This is another fear you have just dominated today.
There we go. So smell it
All right,
first. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, no. Hold on. Okay. I feel like that one is more just intense. Just more intense and a little bit... It still gives kind of like sweeter notes to me, but it's feels more robust, I guess, from a smell perspective.
Well, it should be, I'm getting the same thing. I'm getting a little bit sweeter note than I thought, but I'm getting that from the fruit.
Okay.
So,
This is supposed to be like more intense, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I feel like I have a note. Ugh.
say it.
This one tastes. I like paper. I don't know how to describe it.
Paper. Okay.
Like it's got like a woody kind of feeling to me.
It does. What about the sweetness?
It's not there when I drink it, for sure. I don't really like it.
It doesn't taste as sweet as you would think.
No, not at all. This one is definitely more bitter, for sure, in my opinion.
What about a fruit component?
See, this is where I feel like I'm letting you down. I get no fruit there.
Really?
No fruit. What do you get?
I'm getting a little bit of orange.
Okay.
I'm getting quite a bit of tropical fruit in this.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed that you can pick that up from that.
And I'm getting... The malt's not very sweet at all, but it seems like the sweetness from the fruit component is kind of dulling the sweetness from the malt. Mm-hmm. Though I do get the woody sensation that you spoke of, but it's almost like a darker caramel is what I would say instead of wood. That
Yeah.
I mean, just me personally,
Totally.
I would say a little bit darker caramel.
Totally.
And I'm getting that from the malt, but I'm getting a lot of fruit.
That's
out
so
of this.
interesting. I don't know. I also don't eat fruit that often, so maybe I just don't have much fruit experience either.
Okay.
What is
well-
the malt? We're going back to basics here.
Well, the malt is going to give it the color.
Okay.
It's generally going to give a beer the sweetness component.
Okay.
That's interesting. I've never been asked that before. Well, I'm trying to...
How do you know how to separate what you're tasting is the malt?
Well, depending on the style of beer, you're going to look for certain things.
Okay.
But the malt is always going to be, and some people are going to get mad if I say this, but to me it seems like malt is the backbone of the beer.
Okay.
The malt can either help or hurt everything else in the beer.
Cool.
I've tasted beers that the fruit component was there. It was perfect. But that malt component just brought so much sweetness to it. And it just overwhelmed the hops of the beer. You know, I read on the side of the can they had 4 or 5 different hops in the beer. And I picked up on those hops and I said, hey, there they are. Wow, okay, there's that sweet that I did not want.
Yeah.
And wow, did that not just overpower everything and just it turned me off to that beer because that malt just came in so hard and just dominated and just killed the hops. And even the slight bitterness that I wanted on the back, it wasn't there. And the aftertaste just lingered, and it lingered sweet.
Huh.
And the style of beer it was, and what I got out of it, 2 completely different things. And I was
Disappointed. Yeah.
yeah, and when you're disappointed in a beer, especially if it's the first one you've had from the brewery, it's kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to go back, but it's only one beer. And how many beers have they put out?
Oh yeah.
You know, don't judge a brewery based off
One beer. Yeah.
It's like judging an artist
Yeah.
based off one song.
That's fair. Again, the correlation between artists and beers is higher than I thought. Music and beers. So that's crazy. Okay. Out of 1 to 5, what's this guy?
Ooh, okay. Well, it says experimental IPA, so
Which I still don't know what the experimental element of that is.
neither do I. Do I like this beer? Yes. Is it a juicy IPA? Yes. Is it experimental? I assume so. That's what the can says.
Yeah.
Do I like this beer? Juicy IPA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I'll go 4.
I'm going to give this one a 4, just based off none of the, actual things that go into making a beer good. Just, I don't know. I like that it's like tastes weirder. It makes me like want to drink it again kind of thing.
Well, it's a good beer. I mean, it's not perfect, but
it's less watery for sure, which
I
like.
Yeah, and it should be. The juice component.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask.
At least for you, should be sweet and what's the easiest way to explain it? If you bit into, let's say, little pineapple squares.
Yeah.
When you bite into it, it kind of has that juiciness, that slight sweetness, but a touch of bitterness.
Yeah.
But it's very mouth coating.
That was a very good description. Like when you said pineapple, things started clicking.
Yeah, it's kind of the tropical fruit aspect. And it just, like when you bite into that little piece of pineapple, you might say this is juicy and sweet. Or this is juicy and slightly bitter, but you would bring that juicy description
with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So when they say juicy IPA, you're supposed to get that same feel.
Gotcha.
When you drink it, it's supposed to be juicy.
Wow. I feel like I'm going to go in with such blind confidence now to every beer situation I walk in with this, but I feel much more prepared. So this is great.
Well, like I said earlier, every beer is going to be different. They should have some of the same base components. Like if you go in for a barrel-aged stout, you need to know up front, it's going to be thick.
Okay.
It's going to be dark.
Yeah.
And it's going to knock you down.
Are those like the Guinness ones that people drink or what?
If you've never had a barrel-aged stout, imagine a Guinness that is sweet.
Okay. I would feel so sick, I think, after drinking that.
You got to know how to approach it.
Yeah.
A Guinness or a barrel-aged stout is the type beer you want to have for a conversation.
Sure.
Something that you're not sitting there watching the game and just turning it up. A conversation, you're going to do more talking than drinking.
Yeah.
And a barrel-aged stout, for me, is a perfect beer for that environment when it's cold.
Yeah.
Because as you drink it, bourbon. A barrel-aged stout, you've had bourbon, right?
Yes.
Barrel-aged stout it's going to treat you like bourbon.
Okay. That makes sense.
But it's still got the beer components.
Yeah.
Where bourbon may have just that soft, sweet feel all the way through and even at the finish. A good barrel-aged stout is going to bring the dark chocolate component, maybe a milk chocolate component. But at the very, very end, you're going to get that slight bitterness. Just enough to say, hey, this isn't bourbon.
Yeah.
This is beer.
This is beer.
So careful what you think of it.
All right. That's good to know. Really good to know.
If you ever have the opportunity for a barrel-aged stout, share it. Don't do it by yourself.
I won't. I
Share
promise.
it, because they're monsters.
I believe it for sure.
If they're done well, it's a beautiful beer. But it's a monster.
It's a monster. That's how it
I've
is.
found that out the hard way numerous times. Learn from my experience. Monsters.
Hey, I take your word for it. I do.
So you were talking about mental health earlier. What role does mental health play in the creation of music? Not just lyrics for a song, but the creation of music all around.
I would say an extremely big one. I mean, at least in my life, mental health, whether I'm, experiencing really good things or really bad things in regard to that, it's definitely a driving factor, and it will drive me to just obviously create certain types of music. But on the flip side of that, sometimes when I'm like really struggling with my mental health, what's cool about music is I go and like create some really upbeat, like happy songs that will really kind of pull me out of that in a lot of ways. But then other times it's just a pure reflection of what's going on in my life in that regard.
Do you think mental health is addressed properly in the world of music?
I think that it is much more talked about in conversation with music nowadays than ever before, I think, in so many ways, which I think is an awesome thing. I think you always have to take music as this is someone's personal life and opinion. It's not a fact. It doesn't mean it's the same for you. But if you do relate to that, then that's great. You know, that's a good source of comfort for you. And what I am really happy with in the industry is how it has welcomed, you know, and opened up the floor for people to talk about these things more vocally and help people feel more accepted and understood to talk about those things in a public way.
Do you think your fans and do you think the consumer for all music has a good grasp on trying to understand the mental health component with music? Did I ask that right? Because in my head, I have that question worded perfectly. I don't know if it came out. Do you feel like your fan base understands your struggle with mental health?
I believe so. I think it definitely has given me the opportunity to explain it to the degree that, you know, I've wanted to, and I've wanted to be very open about every aspect of it, you know. It's definitely given me the chance to talk about those things and also connect with people who are experiencing the same things. Because at the end of the day, it is just a therapy session that whether you're having it with yourself or with a producer or whatever, it's a very healthy way, in my opinion, to work through things. And even if it's just experiencing that and not working through anything, just saying it, it helps in some way.
Well, do you think it is easier now to open up about struggles? And I'm not going to use the word or the term mental health
Sure.
at this point. I'm going to say struggles
Sure.
because everyone struggles in life.
Totally.
Everyone. So do you think it's easier now to open up to personal struggles with music and be able to present that music to other writers, other singers, producers, engineers, and they say, you know what, let's go with it. Instead of someone saying, oh, we need to back off a little bit on it. Let's try something else. We'll shelf this one for later. Do you think the industry is saying, you know what, let's go with it?
Absolutely. I fully have seen that in my own life and in like just music I'm hearing from other artists. For example, like I remember even this was, 5-6 years ago when I first started to really come into my own as like an older teenager and kind of wanted to write songs that skewed a little bit just more personal and at times a little bit darker and less, put on for show. There were people I worked with back then that were very like, whoa, that's kind of a lot to say, like 17, like let's keep it chill, let's keep it light. And I just was like, that's not serving anybody, I don't think. And what I've been really happy to see is that people are just kind of saying there's no stigma around this. There's no stigma around talking about your problems or going there. It's, let's do it.
You refer to your music as darker. Are you getting the response from those songs that you expected?
I would say yes. I think, weirdly enough, some of my more like dark or like, just super personal songs in that way are the ones that have been received the most by people. I think I guess because I, am saying something that people don't always feel comfortable saying for themselves or saying about in their own lives. It's always been received well. No one's ever been like, why did you say that with a darker song?
Do you feel that style of music for your genre is underserved?
Underserved in that it's not being
Like your subject matter in your songs is not the prevalent subject matter in other songs.
I wouldn't say so. I think that so many people are just absolutely crushing it and, you know, writing about all themes of music and making pop as dark as they want it to be or as light as they want it to be, and the alternative space as happy as they want it to be or as, you know, serious as they want it to be. I've never felt like I'm saying anything new, just kind of how I've seen it through my own perspective, which is really the only unique perspective you can ever bring to the table.
Why, as a consumer, when I think alt pop, I think of music that is going to be upbeat and sunny.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. And there's definitely that level to it for sure.
Do you think now that the music industry and consumers want the truth from an artist? Do you think that the darker side, if you will, darker side of music is becoming a little more mainstream?
Absolutely. I almost feel like we're almost at the tail end of, like, we've seen a lot of very young artists or artists of all genres, all ages, everything, release some very dark, very personal songs that have become very mainstream. I mean, I feel like 2020 was kind of like the peak of, like, people really starting to lean into the punk, like, very deep, dark lyrics in every genre though as well. And I feel like we're almost starting to see sort of the, like, going back to the upbeat things because everything is cyclical. So yeah, I think we're kind of almost so far into that we're about to see some, like, brighter stuff coming.
Do you think that's good or bad, or just the evolution of music?
I think it's just the evolution of music. I think it's always just gonna go around in a circle kind of thing. Like, this is gonna trend now and then it's gonna fall off and then it's gonna be a trend, 5 years now. Not even to minimalize that as a trend, just kind of the cycles people go through and how they're affected by the world around them and how musicians react to certain periods of time in life.
Okay. Who are your biggest influences in music? And I say that as in the music you put out, the songs, the lyrics, everything you do. I'm not asking this the way I want to. Who are your biggest influences in music? Your music as well as maybe your life, because you're so young in this industry. There have got to be people that you've talked to that have given you life lessons, have given you advice, and said, do this on a personal level to keep yourself grounded. Who are those people that have influenced your music and your personal life?
I would say if we're looking at it from a music perspective, my biggest influences is, like, lyricism and how they've handled their career and their life. I've been really inspired by Noah Kahan. I think is a really big one. I mentioned Holly Humberstone earlier, not only because of what they choose to write about, but I think they do a really good job of living life. Just from what I can see as a random stranger on the other side of the earth, it's not like, I feel like the Noah Kahan I was listening to, 5 years ago is still very much the same Noah Kahan that is, much bigger on a global scale now. But he just still writing music that's true to him and still, the same guy. But from a personal standpoint, I mean, this feels like an expected answer, but it's true. Like, my friends and family have influenced so much of my music in my life simply because I think starting so young, there was always this goal of like music. This was always my thing. This has always been my driving force. And my mom would always say, Caroline, at the end of the day, you can be Taylor Swift, but you're going to go home and you're going to want to have, it's about the people around you when you go home. The lights turn off, the music stops, like who's around you, who's in your life. And that's always been something that's very much like, that's stuck with me. And it's influenced, I can't even make good music if I'm not living life and fostering relationships with the people around me. But it's also taken so much of the, like, music is not this, idolic thing to chase after. It's this awesome thing that I get to do and that I want to do while living life.
Are you the same person in your music as you are at home?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's often amplified in like a very dramatic way, but I'm also a dramatic person. So I think my mom would say, yeah, she might be even less dramatic in her music than she is at home. But yeah, I feel like I'm the exact same person.
Do you feel like to be a good artist, you need to be the same person on stage as off?
No, I don't think that, because though I say I feel like I'm the exact same person in my music, like as I am at home, I think on stage you get the loud part of me, the part of me that I am not showcasing day to day walking around. It's like this switch kind of flips in my head where I don't feel confident 30 seconds before I step on stage, but boom, I walk on stage, and that's the version of me where I feel the most like myself, the most free. But it's just up there, and I never could understand why.
I was fixing to ask you why, because a lot of artists, singers, musicians, they say the same thing.
Yeah.
They say off stage, I'll be the guy or gal standing up against the wall. I'll only talk to you if you talk to me. I'm not. But when I get on stage and I stand behind that guitar or I stand behind that mic, all eyes on me. And I find that interesting because as someone who I can talk to anybody, I will not go in a room and sit there and not talk to someone. It drives me crazy. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I love meeting new people. But in speech class, when I stood up in front of my friends, these are my friends.
Yeah.
I felt so just, what am I doing? I can't do this.
Yeah.
And just stage fright in speech class.
No, yeah, I've heard
You
that,
know,
yeah.
and these are my friends.
Exactly.
So I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it kind of boggles my mind. It's like, but I don't know.
It's
maybe
interesting.
maybe it's the lights bring out that.
It could be, or I'm also like, do more introverted people just like save up all their, confidence for like 30-second spouts, and there are like, 30-minute spouts on stage, and you guys have you're using it all the time, and then when it comes to those really like concentrated situations, I don't know.
Does a concert wear you out?
No.
When you get off stage after putting on a show, let's not even say the best show, just a show, and you're like, you know what? Guys, let's go ahead and throw one more. They tell me 7, let's give them 8.
Oh yeah.
So you go ahead and give them 8. Maybe give them 9 songs, and you give it 110%. When you walk off stage, are you wiped out, or are you more energized?
I'm definitely more energized, definitely more wired. Like, it's this high that you ride for a long time after stepping off stage. At least in my experience, it's like, this is awesome. This night is awesome. Like, everything's great. It's not till like I'm fully like settled down and like probably back at home and in my bed, that I'm like, okay, I'm exhausted. So I think it definitely takes something out of me, but I don't know it until way later.
Well, do you give 100% on stage?
Absolutely. I give 110% every single time.
How do you feel about the people that don't?
I understand that as a musician, performing does not have to be your main thing. You know, there are all kinds of people and all kinds of, you know, different aspects. Like, I'm not a musician I'm not that good at guitar. So I don't stand there and like, I'm not able to deliver an incredible, you know, acoustic guitar performance. And I think sometimes people's music serves a more like stagnant, like chill show. And they're also maybe just, that's how they feel like it's best to present their music. I think though, it doesn't matter about what the definition of 100% is. Whatever yours is, I think, why not give it, you know, especially if people are out there coming to see your show. Like, this is what you've been dreaming for, at least in my experience. Like, it means so, I can't even wrap my head around the fact that people will come out and see a show about music that I, you know, wrote in my room or with my friends. That people take the time to do that. And so, I mean, I just am like, why wouldn't you want it to be the best thing in the world?
Well, I heard your interview on Lightning 100
Yes.
that you did recently. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
You were playing guitar, right?
That was my guitarist. So
Oh,
he
okay.
was using my
Okay.
guitar.
Okay.
I can play guitar, and I play it online. Like, you know, I can play chords. I've been playing since I was very young. But am I like a finger picking, like expert level, music theory level guitarist? In no way. So.
Well, you did. You sounded so confident in the interview, and you sounded extroverted in the interview, and it was lighthearted, and it was a good interview, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Is that you?
It is me. I would classify it as like a subgenre of performing, because I think when it's time for me to present my artistry or talk about music, that excites me. That's a very exciting thing. And in a setting like that also where I'm performing, like, I also feel like this is a performance, like, let's go. And I think it's just a concentrated version of me that I don't, you know, showcase all the time. But I think it's kind of in many ways the truest version of me. I think most of the time I just don't have the confidence to portray that. And music's taught me so much about how to, you know, confidently speak and confidently, you know, have a discussion with someone. I am an introvert at heart, and that's something that I have struggled with in my life. And so, you know, I'm really grateful that music has helped me in that aspect, totally unrelated to my career as well.
Do you think, being an introvert at heart, that as you've matured, has that changed at all? Have you found yourself maybe moving a little more towards being an extrovert?
I think so. I think I don't want to be alone. I think that's my biggest fear. I don't want to be alone, but I don't always have a lot to say. So I think it's like, I'm definitely energized by people in my life that I love, and talking to people and hearing stories. But I'm also energized by being at home and resetting, you know, every now and again. So I think it's a little bit of both for me. I think I have definitely gone more towards the extroverted side, though, over the past few years.
Could you do your poems on stage as spoken word with no music and just a sheet of paper in front of you?
That would be I think I could. Do I think I would? No.
Why not?
I don't know. I feel like I would feel, there's something about reading words on paper to me that when I write, that's how I'm writing them, is to be read. I think there's a kind of spoken word that some people have the incredible talent of being able to write and speak in that way that still portrays those same feelings. I don't know. I've posted some videos online where I have spoken out, like spoken word, my poems before, but I always put like background music to it because it just feels a little awkward. I don't know.
Well, do you think maybe the reason you did that is because you're a songwriter and it seems more natural?
Yeah.
But do you think it's taken away from the poem? Because me,
Please say.
as a consumer of music, and I'm a huge fan of music, I would try to focus on the poem, but I would catch myself listening to the music.
That's so fair.
Are music videos easy for you to make, to be a part of?
They're easy for me to be a part of. They're not easy to make because,
Yeah.
sadly, they are like somewhat of like a dying,
I disagree.
form. You
I
disagree?
Really do. Yes, I do.
Well, I hope that's true, and I'd love to. Please tell me more about that.
All right, right now, okay, you're a budding artist. You're new to Nashville. A girl and her guitar come to Nashville with a book of poems, and you have no contacts here. You just showed up. But you have an Instagram, you have a Facebook, you have all the social media. What do you look at when you come to Nashville? What are you going to look at on your social media to try to find somewhere to fit in?
Yeah, I would go to musicians' accounts and things that I feel like I resonated with here in Nashville.
And what are going to be on their accounts?
To me, it depends. I mean, I would hope. I love music videos. I would think music videos, but I also think a lot of like at-home short form content.
But it's still considered a video, right?
I think so. I mean, yeah, I think if it's like not the only separation I would hold there is is it like a storyline video, like a conceptual video, or is it just like a filming yourself to your song video, which I do both of. So, I mean, I'm an advocate for both for sure.
I think what I'm trying to say is I feel music videos, even in short form, are your bread and butter, are the gasoline to your engine. If you're putting up you're releasing a new song and you told your fans, I'm going to release it on Instagram and YouTube tomorrow night at 6 p.m. If you release on YouTube, it's got to be a video, right?
Yeah.
If you release a picture with the lyrics popping up, and of course you singing in the song and everything, do you think someone's really going to get into that?
No.
Or do you think someone would like to see maybe you and the band in there tuning, poking fun at each other, singing, people messing up, having a good time, and somebody's in the corner filming with a phone or filming with one of these cameras, kind of documentary style.
Yeah.
Do you think someone's going to tune into that, or do you think they're going to be like, oh man, she just released this song. It was, man, I'm so pumped about it. It's like, you just watched the lyrics.
Yeah.
I mean,
How would you? Yeah. I definitely video for sure.
even short form content. And my favorite style of video is let's just do it. It's a one shot thing. It's, somebody over here filming you, and you can see the light back here is a little weird, or somebody over here is filming this person, and you see the mistakes in it, but you see the raw video.
Yeah.
So so in my mind, I've already said, I'm getting raw emotion in this song. And I see you standing there and you're singing into this mic and you're just giving it, everything you got. And maybe the light behind you is messing up the picture, but it all just kind of blends together.
Yeah.
As opposed to, man, she really got into this song, but that picture on the YouTube was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So at least for me as a consumer, I would rather see somebody hold their phone up and film you singing, and see that as, your video.
Yeah.
Video, even if it's short form.
I agree.
Just clips.
Totally.
You know, maybe even somebody says, you know what, I'm going to film it in black and white. Just throw it off a little bit. Let's make it more fun. Let's turn the camera sideways a little bit, maybe move it around, just kind of do something different.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm going to tune in more for that.
Yeah, I would agree. For sure.
So personally, I think video, be it short form content or full production, that's the gas in the engine to make things go.
Yeah, video is definitely the driving media right now in all aspects with TikTok and Instagram Reels and all that stuff. So I agree with you there for sure.
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I see myself still writing, still making music, but just having had several projects out and hopefully on a much larger scale, touring and getting to connect with fans and writing for myself and for other people. I mean, I want to be doing what I'm doing now, just on the largest scale I can possibly do it. Is kind of my answer to that.
What are you doing every day to achieve that goal?
Every single day, I'm writing. Every single day, I'm trying to meet new fans and connect with people, whether it's, you know, online or finding ways to play a show here in Nashville. I'm, you know, trying to better myself as a musician, not only from a writing standpoint, but from a, you know, sonic and just understanding what makes a good show as a whole. And also trying to, day to day, I think something that is overlooked is just living life and having things to write about and, you know, being a person that, you know, is able to make good music for a long time.
So every day you're learning something new about music and about life.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ever get exhausting?
Yes, and I think another thing, like a big goal for me, like going into this year, is to make a better use of my time, because I've come to realize that being busy does not always mean that you're like making the most of the situation.
That is true.
So I think consolidating my week into making the most out of, you know, 4 or 5 days a week, and then having some time to rest and, you know, read a book that's inspiring or work on guitar or something that is more chill, I think is a big goal.
Do you think rest is key to being successful?
I personally do. I think burnout is real and it is a beast. And I've experienced it at times, and it's so devastating because it's like, oh, I want to be doing this. Why can't I think straight right now? Why do I not feel like I'm able to put my best foot forward right now? It's because you're burnt out. It's because you've, you know, it's become like you kind of like you said, more of a job than, you know, your passion. And while music fully is a job, and like I believe like you've got to treat it like a job in all ways, like I don't want it to feel like one, because it's just not how you approach, you know, a lot of those creative things, I think.
How has your perception of, it's not the word I'm looking for. How has the term success changed for you over the years? Like when you came to Nashville and you jumped in full force and said, I'm going to do music. I'm sure you had a picture of success in your mind. Mm-hmm. Has that picture changed as you've grown, as you've evolved in music, and you've seen what the music industry is, and life has changed? Mm-hmm. So has your definition of success changed?
Yes, it has. I mean, when I first came here, be it I was very young and I was 13, but I was like, success means, you know, I am selling out arenas and I'm making albums that get millions of streams, you know, and I'm able to fully provide for every element of my life solely through music, which is obviously great things. And there's still things I still want, you know, and I'm still going to chase after. But my definition of success has become leaving an impact in much different ways, not just leaving an impact from a standpoint of, being an awesome musician and like, doing really well in my career. It's leaving an impact on every single person I meet around me and living a life that impacts other people in a positive way. And I hold in the same level of esteem now, the highest level of career you can have in music with, having a family and people around you that love you and, just enjoying your life day to day. So,
Do you have those things?
I do. I'm very blessed to have them. And, it's taken a long time to find the people you want in your life forever. That's like a continuous journey, and you're always going to meet new people. And being in a big city at a young age, it was hard to navigate that at times. But I'm in this place now where I feel like so blessed to have so many awesome people around me.
Do you feel like you can tell the difference in someone who you want in your ecosystem when you meet them for the first time? Or do you feel like I need to take what you're saying at face value, but I also need to kind of step back and feel you out and see, do I believe you? Do I need you around me? Are you going to help me or are you going to hurt me?
Yeah. I think giving those things time, I would like to think I'm like a good judge of character off, first meeting, but I think there's so many instances I can look back on, even recently in my life, and think, I did not know this person until much later, or like how they would impact my life for better or worse. So, yeah, I think it takes a second to kind of figure that out.
Do you feel like that is a skill you've learned over time?
Mm-hmm. And also the skill to learn like when to separate. I'm someone who gets very attached to people, and it's hard. Like when I've had friends or, situations where I'm like, this is not a good thing in my life. This is not something I need to surround myself with. Having the strength to walk away and like, not be as close with that person anymore is also a skill I've learned that I think is so important.
What would you tell someone? Let me drill down on that a little bit. What would you tell a young female wanting to come to Nashville on her own with only her skills and her abilities? She doesn't know anyone. She's coming here. She knows she can make it big. She doesn't know how. She just knows she will. What would you tell her?
This is another one of those cliches, but I think it all goes back to this. It is having a confidence and assurance in yourself deep down. You don't have to be outwardly confident, and you don't have to know everything about who you are as a person, but to just have a good grasp on what you want and what you're after and what you're about. I think that carries into everything you do, every room you walk into. If you're able to believe in yourself enough, like to go out there and pitch yourself or write or even meet friends, like that comes across to other people. People aren't going to believe you if you don't believe in yourself. And I also think it's just good to have a good pulse on constantly remembering why you're there, who you are, and where you want to be, because it is easy to get pushed this way or pushed that way, and people will tell you who they think you should be or what you should sound like or anything really. I mean, I've experienced that, and it's easy to fall for those things and be polite and let people kind of push you around a little bit, but you just got to stick to your guns there.
So Eye on the Prize is basically what I got out of that.
Eye on the prize, and also just like a confidence in yourself, like a good sense of you.
How do you build that if you don't already have it? Confidence in yourself.
I've, from personal experience, just built it over time and the knowledge that looking around, everyone's exactly the same. No one out there has it all figured out, and no one's, better than you in that aspect. Everyone, if you're doing the best you can and you're doing something you love and that's really all you need at the end of the day. Like, no one has the right to kind of tell you anything else.
Do you feel like the music industry tries to point people in a direction that the industry wants as opposed to what the artist wants?
I think in many cases that definitely happens, especially from like a marketing standpoint, chasing after what's viral or something that fits with, you know, how you look, or, you know, something that's an easy in. If that's not you, don't do it. I think from like the non-music creative side of things, people do try to push artists that way in many cases.
Do you have lasting power in this industry? Are you going to be around for a long time?
I would say yes, because I don't have any intention to stop writing about my life or what's happening, you know, and I think as long as you're being truthful, there is lasting power in that.
Well, I wouldn't say I would say yes. I would just say yes.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I think I see a lot of confidence in you.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of skill and a lot of ability in you. And I think maybe you sell yourself short a little bit.
Maybe. I think it's a lot of Mississippi politeness that I've learned, and also, you know, yeah, right?
Just the Southern way of doing things.
Right. Which is sometimes I'm like, you got to stop yourself from saying sorry all the time or for things like that, you know? It's hard.
I don't think you'll ever get that out of you. I
No.
do it all the time.
Right.
I catch myself doing it even when I don't mean it.
Yeah.
Because it felt like the right thing to say at the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then I look back on it and say, you know what? I wasn't sorry that happened.
Yeah.
It was a mistake. I should have said, you know what? It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, man, I'm sorry that happened, I should just said, it happened.
Oh, yeah.
Am I sorry it happened? I'm sorry for the way it turned out,
Yeah.
but I'm not sorry for the process.
For sure. It's a nasty habit that I think obviously there's much benefit in saying sorry when warranted, but it's been ingrained in people, I think, to an unhealthy degree. Like, I'll say sorry to someone who bumps into me at the grocery store, you know?
Right,
It's crazy.
right. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
And I think I do it more as, and then I smile after I do it.
Yeah.
Which really cements the fact that I was wrong.
Yeah. And then that person who probably didn't even think you did anything wrong is like, well, is that person guilty? I mean, you're only hurting yourself there, you know?
Yeah, well, I guess they shouldn't have stepped out in front of me while I was, walking this way.
Exactly.
Even though they were looking over here and walking right at me.
Yeah.
It puts that person, it empowers that person in that instance.
Yeah.
And I sometimes feel that it makes me look, I'm not going to say like a lesser person, but it makes me look less confident.
Of course, yeah. It's like when it's not warranted, it's, don't make yourself feel small for something you shouldn't for.
Well, I think in your business, in music, you should never feel less than you are.
Mm-hmm. It's very important. And I think that kind of goes back to, with all my ramblings, what I was trying to say is like, you have value, and it's just believing that you have that value and can bring it to the table no matter what. That is the biggest, most powerful thing you can do, I think, and the most important thing you can do when coming to Nashville, when trying to be an artist, when trying to do anything.
Do you think it's harder for a female to present that over a guy?
I think there are a lot of things that definitely can make it harder for women, even from my experience, like just growing up. You are told you have more things to be insecure about. You're told, you should kind of act this way, or that this would fit more in your box. And so, yeah, I would say, but also I think, it's very true for men too. I think that nowadays it's a very equal playing field as far as everyone, is going through something, and just,
Do you think it's harder for men to sing emotional songs?
No, I don't think so. I mean, okay, I can't speak as, is it hard for, I don't know how hard it is for a man to feel that they can open up and sing an emotional song like that and how that's perceived for them. No idea. But I think, can a man deliver an emotional song and absolutely crush it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I agree with that. I'm just saying, do you think that it's harder for someone who, and I'm not going to say portrays being a man's man, because that would say they're acting.
Sure.
But someone who truly is, let's say, hard, goes up there and sings a very emotional, vulnerable, heartfelt song about whatever. Let's just say heartbreak. Do you think it's harder for him to come to grips with that and say, because we all feel it. Everybody feels it. It doesn't matter how hard you are. You're still human.
Of course.
Do you think it's harder for him to go up there and show his true self?
I think it very well could be. Just like with any, preconceived notion or pressures that are put upon, people for any reason. I think it could be very difficult for someone who, kind of typically portrays that harder shell to get to that point and feel comfortable being perceived in that more emotional way. Yeah, totally.
Okay. All right. Well, I have 2 questions that I want to ask you. And I ask everyone these same 2 questions. And I'm going to end with this. What are 2 questions you would like to be asked in an interview that you've never been asked, that you would like to be asked?
Okay.
And what are the answers to those questions?
I think the first one is, what besides music would be my dream job? I think often I only talk about music and what else goes on in my life besides that. And I've always thought something in, video or photography would be really interesting and cool, because I think it goes hand in hand with a lot of what I already do with music, but focusing purely on the visual side, I've always wondered if that would change my perspective of how I view those things. So I think that would be cool.
Have you ever thought about creating your own music video for someone else?
I would definitely love to. I've never thought about it in the sense that I currently don't think I have the tools or the knowledge to do it in the degree, scale that I would want to.
No. I'm not talking about one of these high production, high value videos. I'm just talking about maybe one of your friends who is in the indie scene that needs a little kick in the pants. So you know what? You need to put a video out.
Yeah.
Let's go out here. I'll grab a camera. Let's make it happen. Do you think you could do? What if I came up to you and asked you to make a video for me, and you already knew my song? It's a new song. It's just released. I say, you know what? I need to put something out on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've seen you take pictures. I've seen your confidence behind the camera. Here.
I could do it. I could. I think I have a good artistic eye in that sense, and I have a lot of fun with it. So yes, I think I totally could. I'm the picture taker of my friend groups in every situation. I love doing it. So
why don't you do it then? Make
I
a
need
video.
to do it more. I know. I need to get into that more for sure. It's not a bad idea.
Why don't you make a video for one of your poems?
That's actually a really good idea. I need to do that. After this whole conversation, that's definitely one thing I have to soon put into action for sure.
I think you would find more fun and more value in that than anything else.
I think I would too. I'm going to let you know how that goes. I'll have to dive into that once I'm home.
All right. What is the second question?
My second question is, No one really ever asked me if I have any secret talents. And my secret talent is not that cool, but it is that I'm like really good at hula hooping. So I think there's no actual career in that. I'm glad I went with this one rather than hula hooping, but that is my other question. Pretty.
How good are you?
Like competition level.
How many?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How many hula hoops at one time?
I mean, I've got like 2 in me, so that's not crazy. But I'm saying like switching directions, like different things like that, longevity. I'm pretty good.
Why does the world not know that?
Because I don't think it should, really. I think that's something that I should maybe keep more of a secret, you know?
So you don't think your fans deserve to know what makes you happy?
I don't even know if hula hooping makes me happy. It's more of the, incredible burden of talent that is hula hooping for me, rather than, something that I'm stoked about.
Well, why don't your fans know about your daily life? I mean, you obviously have to practice hula hoop.
I haven't done it in that, like, in a while, I will admit, but I feel like I'm pretty, like, just naturally pretty good. And that's just a fact that no one knows.
Well, why don't they?
Because it's like, the time will come, I think, when it should be more spoken about.
Well, why not now? I mean,
this is me starting. People know.
Well, now that you've put it out,
now that you're going to start seeing some hula hoop content.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
And you got to get your friends in on it. And you have to video that for them.
I can kill a lot of birds with one stone there, for sure.
I think you should.
I think I will.
And I need to see some poems.
I will really do the poem thing. The hula hooping thing I won't do, but I'll do the poem thing for sure.
You should read a poem while doing hula hooping.
I think that'd be a lot of stimulation.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot of things going on.
Just a little too much all at once. But
that'd be a little much.
I really think you need to drill down on your poetry.
Thank you.
I do. And I think you need to do it without music. Mm-hmm. And you need to let the consumer not only see it on paper to read it for themselves, but they need to listen to your voice and hear the inflection and hear the raw emotion. Because if you read it out loud, you're going to read it the way it sounded in your head when you wrote it.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And if you put music to that, I think you're taking away from the raw emotion.
I can see that. I'm going to try it. You really have inspired me to start making some poetry videos. So
I think you should.
I appreciate that.
That's just my personal opinion for what it's worth.
No,
and
I
it's
appreciate it.
Worth the 2 cents
Yeah.
you paid to be on this podcast.
Hey, it was steep. Yeah.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And where can people find your music and anything you have as far as social media?
So you can find my music anywhere you stream music: Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Caroline Romano. And you can find me on socials. I'm on all the platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, at Caroline Romano Music. So check it out.
Where can we find your poetry?
Mostly on TikTok. I've got some TikToks up currently, but you're going to see more starting today for sure.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And next time I speak to Miss Caroline, we're going to be talking about her poetry and how that's going.